What's up, you guys? I wanted to come back on with this little guy, this little TukTuk from the movie Raya that we did a little launch for with some color mixes. If you're watching this on a replay, we may not have any more of these mixes because they sell out pretty fast. But I wanted to show you how many I had left, and I'll go ahead and glue his last little shell piece here. But what I noticed is one of the pieces from the first day have moved, and I'm just using fusion tack from Super Tight, and so I tried to kind of pick at it with my katana, and it was a no-go. My fingernails I didn't want to chip or break. I gotta redo those soon, but so I wanted just to show the pretty good bond this material, even though it's just going to be sitting on a shelf. Like, it's super good bond. Look at that. It's awesome bond. So I got that one out. Clean it up a little bit, and we're going to add a little bit more glue on and put another stone in and make it nice and straight. That was a nice little thing to show how strong it was. My fingernail was not pulling it off, and then my tool wasn't doing it good, so I had to get the good old nippers out. And so yes, you could pull the glue off that stone, but I'm gonna just keep on going, and then we'll go ahead and glue this last little piece in. And of course, I let my tip get a little bit clogged. Use your pin. Comes with the pin. And let's get this guy going. And that way I can complete Mr. TukTuk. Is that going to fit? And sometimes when you pull a stone out, it might leave that residue, and it might not let the stone seat all the way back in. But this one's just fine, and so that'll dry clear. And so now I'm going to continue over on his little last shell area, and then we'll do that on time lapse. So I'm just using fusion tack. A similar glue is gem tack. Very good. Both are very good for these kind of items. They're just going to be sitting on a shelf. And if you did purchase some of our mixes, I've used a whole mix of the TukTuk for this guy, and I have only these left. So I hope I can get this to fit without having to bust open another package. So let's see how this goes. Okay, so I have this many left from one of our 10-gram packages, and that's pretty awesome. Now, mine are pretty spaced out, but because his background color, the natural color that his this little Funko Pop was, it kind of all goes together, so I can have plenty of big gaps. And this is going to be seen from a shelf from far away. It's a display piece. It's not meant to be in your hands all day looking at it. So totally fine, and I'm pretty happy with my spacing. I could put a few more pieces there if I have maybe one or two small ones there, but in the end, no one's going to notice that, and that's going to help your budget if you're selling these. If you're getting into a small business selling these, then you need to know your cost of items, and a cost of a 10-gram package from us is a certain price. They're all different because we have so many different Swarovskis mixed in here. But then I'm going to show a different way to get really detailed in his little face, and the cost of just his face is going to be probably more than his whole body. So there's a difference. So when you're pricing things, please know your numbers and know how long it takes you, how many stones are on here, because all of that goes within into your pricing, along with your overhead and your taxes and your licenses and your insurance and all that other stuff. So stay tuned for his little face. Let's see what I can do with some, let's see, I've got, come on you, stand up, thank you. I want to try the KiraKira Amber mix pack, possibly the light peach mix pack, and maybe the, pardon me, the sunny gold mix pack. So it goes pretty small, but I'm not sure which one I want to do. So let's see which looks best. And here's another quick tip if you're confused on what colors to use, just do a dry fit. These are gently placed on here, there's no glue, and I've got the two colors, the amber is the dark and the sunny gold is the lighter color. So just place them on, get a feel for how the gaps are going to look, because you're going to have gaps. I'm going to try to not have very many because I'm trying to show super expensive fill compared to not so expensive fill on this outer part, so stay tuned. Okay, so I'm going to use the CG500 on here. Again, I'm going for a higher end look. So I'm going to use higher end glues and smaller stones. So let's just mix a little bit here on the side. I'm just using the back of an old zippy bag. Just little dime size drops. Part A and Part B of the CG500. I've put it in my own bottles because it comes in a cartridge and sometimes a tube. So equal parts, close counts. Okay, go ahead and wipe with rubbing alcohol if you haven't already. And so let's get this glue mixing. Sometimes I cut my brushes. I'm not going to cut today. I just want to get it kind of fluid on this guy. Just mix, mix, mix. And it does look a bit yellow on the video, but as thin as it's going to be on the item, it'll be crystal clear. And this glue is very safe to use. The instructions in the SDS even say that it does not normally require any respirator. Okay, so I'm just going to put it on his little face here. Get it all over, and I'm going to go over all of the details. The glue can be very thin. It's going to go over the little texture, the dents and dings, the nooks, the crannies. It's going to get in there if your brush goes in. And I'm going to go over his eyes. I'll grab the black at the end, but just so it has a nice glossy look to it. I'm going to go ahead and go over everything right now. Little swirl around his little antennae, little roly-poly. This glue stays workable, for about an hour, and it's only 70 degrees in my office today. I've had the doors open, so it's a bit chilly. So you could probably get an hour and a half working time out of this glue. I'm gonna go ahead and do his little hands. Not sure if I can get that far using all these tiny stones, but we will see. Nice and thin. All over. If you see any drips or puddles, get rid of them, smooth them over. Nice and thin. Alright, I'm good. Good with that. I'm happy with that coverage. And then to clean your brush, you need to squeeze out the epoxy and put that in rubbing alcohol to clean it. We normally have like a glass or a ceramic cup filled with rubbing alcohol, and we keep our brushes in it, and we can use these for weeks and weeks and months. So keep your brushes in your rubbing alcohol. Okay, so to start out, since the darker part is going to be the amber, I'm going to go ahead and start down around this edge. And again, I'm only using the small stones because I want to show the difference in pricing. We have so many questions on how do you price your items, and if you don't know the cost of your stones, your rhinestones, your items, and how many it takes for such an area. Many people like to use all these tiny ones and then didn't realize that it took them, 2 hours to do a tiny little face, whereas it only took me 45 minutes to do this whole bottom here, and I was on a live, so I was chatting the whole time. So it's good to show a difference in quality for your customers, to show the details and say, if I could have easily done all this detail on his shell, but this was for a demonstration a few evenings ago, and so it's not necessary. But if your customer wants something super detailed, then be ready to know your numbers. And I'm just going around this little hair detail, and these I believe these are There's a couple of 12s in here still from the shaky cheese grater that I showed earlier in the little ninja tip. Hashtag CrystalNinja Tip. We have a few of those floating around. But they definitely go down to size 3. There are some itty bitties. Even the package says down to I think 5 or 4. I mean, they're so small. They're so tiny. And the stones are going to move, so I've stacked them from the bottom to go up, and I'll start pulling in a couple of the sunny yellow because it starts to fade into that color. So I'm just going to drop in a few every now and then. Sometimes you can go in and sprinkle them, but for up here, I'm going to keep it still a little bit on the darker side. And I'll put in like a smoked topaz on his eyebrows. And if this was too much glue, you would see these stones drowning. It's a perfect amount, it's a perfect layer, and there's no drowning going on. Again, these are mostly size 5s and 3s and just super tiny. So they're quite happy in this amount of glue. Just enough to grab the shape, but not enough to drown them in the glue. A little practice, and watch your corners in your this might have like a puddle. So you gotta watch those where the glue settles, and moving your hands around and watching, like it's probably thicker over here because it's the gravity's pulling it. But you gotta practice and watch how that glue moves. The glue works for you, you don't work for that glue. I'm using probably just the 5s and 4s right now because there's kind of a pretty deep curve in his little eye socket, and I want those stones to fit and not teeter too much on the curve. You don't want to have stones on top of each other, especially for drinkware, if you're doing drinkware, because it's going to add to your cost. You don't know how many stones you're using in that area when they have an uneven amount of overlapping, and it's just, it can be sometimes unattractive. It can create dark spots in the work. So please lay your stones nice and flat into the glue. So I'm sprinkling in just a few of the amber because he gets darker and darker towards his little forehead here. And you can put different size in your sprinkle because that helps the weight of the colorway. If I was used to use a bunch of the larger ambers, it would be, darker and heavier, but I really want a light twinkling of the amber, so I'm going to go with the smaller stones through here, and then the rest is about to be the sunny gold. And I have on the other angle, I have a clock. I just was curious to keep time and to show that you should always pay attention to how long something takes, because you want to get paid for your time. And if you have others helping you, if you have assistants, you want to make sure that, what you charge for their time and how they get paid, and make sure that's all evening out. You might have a wonderful artist, but it might take him or her 3 hours to do what you can do in 30 minutes. Like, that happens. You have to allocate or learn who is the fastest and the best at what technique, and sometimes it's worth it to put someone that's slower on something, but you have to know how long things take in order to charge properly for them. If you're charging for this, if you're a small business and getting into this, and there's so many ways that I messed up years and years ago because there was no one to help. But here we are trying to help. and be consistent in our instruction. Okay, that's a pretty big guy, but I think I like him. I think I like that little 12 there. Because he's, you know, he's got some texture too, so. Super cute. He's so fun. Again, these are super tiny, like 3s and 4s in this mix. So they're small. So small. Okay, so we're probably right at near 1 hour for this little face. I still haven't done the eyebrows, the eyes, the nose. Probably not going to do the toes, but there you go. 1 hour for just this small area compared to 35 to 45 minutes for this back area here. So it does pay to know your numbers, and then your customers can choose the detail. Having something this detailed compared to something this detailed is quite a different price. Alrighty guys, if you enjoyed this material and this video, please give a like and a subscribe, and we'll see you soon.